Hey gamers, Veronica Vext here, just jumping in real quick before this episode starts. First of all, I wanted to say that unfortunately I lost a lot of the video footage for this episode, so it's going to be all audio. Second of all, my guest for this episode is my girlfriend Scarlett Zahn-Phillips, who her and her husband Tom are really struggling financially right now. They are on the brink of getting their power shut off. These are two people who I care about very, very deeply, and I would really appreciate it if you were able to send a little something their way. Their Venmo and Chime are available right here and will also be available in the description of this video. Again, these are two people who I care about immensely, obviously, and I remember how much this community did for me when I was going through my financial struggles last year, and I am hoping that you will be able to do the same for these two wonderful people. All right, on with the show. Hello, gamers. Welcome to another episode of the Cuddlepunk Podcast. I am your host, the mastermind, the dumbest girl alive, Veronica Vext. I am here with my lovely girlfriend, Scarlett, which can only mean one thing. It is a list time. We are going to be going over our top 10 albums of 2024. Scarlett, we started dating like right at the beginning of 2024, and I don't think there was a single week. I don't think there was 3 days that went by without one of us sending an album that came out last year to each other.
Some kind of music, yeah. This 2024 was a really good year for music, and I can't wait to turn into BuzzFeed and make a listicle for the next hour with you.
I'm really excited because I know from your albums that we said previously, that we had previously on our top 5 albums of the mid-year, I think you told me that only one of yours was still on your list from this year?
Yeah, out of all of them, I don't know if you're gonna do it the way we talked about doing it, but like the 5 that I had for 2024 real quick were from like 5 to 1. I had Saviors by Green Day, which I have not listened to since making that first video. I had Clancy by 21 Pilots, which same. Posthuman Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon, which is good album sonically, but it is way too overbloated, like we said. The Poetic Edda by Disembodied Tyrant and Synestia, and the king of the mid-year last year, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to, Knocked Loose. Still gotta say real quick, shout out to them for that fucking Jimmy Kimmel appearance. Oh, that pig squeal on national fucking TV is going to stay with me for forever. Oh, it's so good.
So a weird thing that I have about that Jimmy Kimmel performance is that I have been in the audience for a Jimmy Kimmel thing. I was living in LA in 2019 for the summer, and I got to see Cardi and Offset do Clout live, which was fucking amazing.
Ooh.
Really, really good. But now that one is there. My top 5 for anybody who wants to remember from the mid-year was Rap Cities Please Don't Cry, Evie Echoes and the Locations, The Concept Being a Wallflower, The Last Dinner Party's Prelude to Ecstasy, Riley's Keep Your Cool, and Runaway Ricochet's Diminishing Returns. 2 of those albums are still on this list. Obviously, a ton. The back half of this year was stacked.
Packed
like, even
with
more
fucking music.
than... I know that we talked about this. We recorded our episode last week, at the mid-year, I think the week before Brat came out.
The week of Brat. We recorded it the week of Brat, and I remember because we recorded it, and then, a couple nights after, I went with a couple folks to a drag show the night it dropped, and, that was the same week, and Brat has stayed with me through this year, for sure.
Absolutely.
Even from that week that we recorded, the list was going to change, for sure.
Do you want to just get straight into this?
Sure.
At this point? All right. I think you went first last time, so I'm going to go first this time.
Heard.
My number 10 album of 2024, it is an EP. It is not the only EP on this record. It is not the only EP on this list. It is Eat the Rich by Damage. Damage is somebody that I have been aware of for, I think, 3 years. I think I started following them on TikTok in 2021, I want to say. And as a trans woman who makes rap music now, which you will be hearing in the coming months, I'm hoping. Yeah, she's everything. She is the politics, the absolute swag that she exudes. One of my favorite lines from the entire EP is off of Billy and Belly, where she just goes, I don't fuck with Elon, smoke a blunt while I fuck on he daughter. That's really all you need to know if you have not listened to Damage yet. That one line, that will give you everything you need to know.
I just, while we're on that topic, I have to say the greatest tweet of all time happened last year, and it was someone asking, like, what difference Elon has made in your life, and Chelsea Manning just replied, like, I fucked his wife. Like, one of the greatest things I have ever seen, one of the greatest dunks on Elon, truly. Thank you, Chelsea Manning, for all that you've done.
National hero, the last true American hero.
National hero, Chelsea Manning. Yeah.
What is your number 10?
Okay, so before I do my number 10, I had one honorable mention, that something happened that kind of put it off of my list.
Oh yeah, this was gonna be, this is another EP that was gonna be on our list. It's, my dear friends in 10 Months Summer. Their EP Fate Lines is absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, we don't really fuck with Tenmo anymore. Do you want to tell that story real quick?
Yeah, sure. We were at a show for our good friends, Splitjaw, who you will definitely hear about them later on in this, because they're on another one of my honorable mentions. We were at the show. I was excited. It was my first mosh pit. I jumped in, and some fucking dude in Vineyard Vines shoulder checks me in the nose within 3 seconds of getting in the pit. Later find out it's one of the Tenmo guys, so sorry, can't listen to that album. I'm kidding, I'm sorry. It's a great album.
We love you, Charlie.
We love you, please don't.
We love you, Charlie.
Please
we
go
love you
listen.
so much.
Please go listen to Fate Lines.
Fate Lines, I Get It, You're Scared genuinely got a girl to date me at the end of last year. Please listen to 10 Month Summer's Fate Lines, it's so good.
Tenmo makes some really good shit. They're
Tenmo
really
is, wife guy rock, that's all we gotta say.
Not Ned from Try Guy's wife guy. Better wife guy rock.
Wife guy rock, non-derogatory.
Good
so
wife. For my number 10, I wanted to keep it short and sweet. Fuck Ronnie Radke. Fuck everything Ronnie Radke's ever done. I don't care how good of the music he makes. I don't care how good the music he makes is. Fuck Ronnie Radke. He's a transphobic piece of shit.
His music's also not good.
It may have been at one point. I genuinely don't care enough to actually give it a shot. Fuck Ronnie Radke. Coup de Grace by CU Space Cowboy. V introduced me to CU Space Cowboy this year, and Coup de Grace got me through some really angry walks to work. Connie deserves the world, and should not have to put up with the shit that she has, and I'm glad that she got out. It's a good album made by a fucked up group of people and a wonderful Connie.
Interviewing Connie Scarbosa is the biggest flex I will probably ever have from this podcast. I saw CU Space Cowboy twice this year. Coup de Grace was on my album of the year list up until, like, I think this week was when all the news broke about what's been going on in the CU Space Cowboy camp, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of trans women getting thrown under the bus. I love Connie Scarbosa's work. I am trying very hard to not be parasocial about this, but it fucking sucks, and I hate seeing people bring down a good woman.
If anything, I'm more excited to see where Connie goes from here. I don't want to, like, compare female vocalists in metal, but, like, I almost want to see a Spirit Box-esque kind of thing, where she does something that's just as big and just as, like, hard-hitting as CU Space Cowboy, because they genuinely have a sound that I feel like I have not heard before, and I would love to see some of that, like, her personal spin on that, and what she can bring to the table.
Stream Dread's Comforting Embrace by Splitjaw instead for a trans female-fronted Scrams band with people in the band who are actually cool and support her and shit.
Until Connie puts something out, and then listen to both of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My number 9...
10.
No, I did my number 10. It was This Damage.
Oh, you're so right.
My number 9, we're going country with this one.
You have to cut that. I can't look stupid.
You're so fine. My number 9 of the year is Anniversary by Adeem the Artist. We're going country with this one. Adeem the Artist is somebody who I've been following also since I think 2021. This was a Spectrum Pulse find, which is usually how I find my country stuff. This album is it's so cute. It's cute and it's genuinely, like, earnest at the same time. Songs like One Night Stand are songs that I have sent to everybody in my family, and they have all really liked all of that. They have loved that song. It's a really cute song about a queer one-night stand turning into a longer relationship is always something that I am pulling for. Part and Parcel will break your heart. Nightmare is an incredible song about the insanity of the fundamentalist Baptist Christian right and all of that stuff. Plot of Land is a banger about just wanting to find a place for you and your loved ones to settle down. It's also queer. It's also beautiful. Night Sweats breaks my heart every time. Again, this is an album that I got to have parts of my family listen to.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a song about the Palestinian genocide on this album as well. And I feel like that stands for that's a statement in and of itself.
Which, unfortunately, that is not the only time the Palestinian genocide makes this list with one of my entries. Shout out to all the folks in Gaza.
From the river to the fucking sea.
Fuck Israel. Wholeheartedly, through and through, fuck Israel.
From two very Jewish bitches.
From two very Jewish
Extremely Jewish bitches.
You ready for my 9?
Yes.
Okay. So, let's set the scene here. I've always been a Michael Ackerfeld dick rider. I love Opeth. I love everything about those Swedish little fruitcakes. They have made some of my favorite music in the last 2 decades, with Blackwater Park, with the Deliverance Damnation albums, with Ghost Reveries. And then anyone who knows Opeth knows that they kind of shifted more into progressive rock, and not metal, just prog rock. And that's good. I love prog rock. I am a diehard 70s Genesis girly. I love them. But they hadn't really done something hard since 2011. Not even since 2011, since 2008 with Watershed, which is also a great fucking album. And then, earlier this year, they put out a single for a full-on concept album called my number 9 pick, The Last Will and Testament. Holy fucking shit, this album. Not only do we get back to the, guttural death growls that Michael is so fucking good at doing, we have a beautifully told story of a dying father holding a secret from his children in post-World War I Europe, I believe. I don't know if it's specifically Germany or England, but I know it's in Europe. And this album is fucking stacked. This album has one of the best guitar solos, up there with Comfortably Numb on the closing track, The Story Never Told. The individual tracks act like paragraphs in a will reading, and goddamn, some of them hit fucking hard. Some of the grooves on this record, some of the growls on this record. They got motherfucking Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, Mr. Aqualung himself, to not only do flute on the album, flute on a death metal album, they got him to do narration for this album, which is not something I would ever pair Ian Anderson with, doing narration and flute on a death metal album. But Opeth is so good at what they do that this album is transcendent for me. It came out on my birthday this year. I was hyped to listen to it. I spent the entire day spinning it back to back to back to back, and
didn't I give you the Opeth shirt for your birthday?
You did give me the Opeth shirt. It's got 2 of the members of the band, but dressed up like the twins from The Shining. One of my favorite fucking shirts. One of my favorite albums by them. Definitely one that's going to stay in my top 5 for Opeth for a long fucking time. They knocked it out of the fucking park with this one. Thank you, Michael, for listening to us. We are glad that you brought the Death Growls back.
Shout out fucking Opeth.
I've
never been that big of a fan, but too many people that I have cared for deeply have loved that group for me to not be able to shout out Opeth.
They truly have had their finger. They've had their finger on the pulse of so many different kinds of metal for the longest time, and it's really impressive to see their progression, especially once they started working with famed prog rocker Steven Wilson. They really took off from there, with Blackwater Park.
I do love me some Porcupine Tree.
Everybody loves Porcupine Tree because Porcupine Tree is one of the better prog rock.
Because they have hooks.
Yeah.
Put hooks in your prog rock songs.
Well, you just blew out the fucking vocals
and
on that
what
one.
And I could not have done it on a more important statement.
No, absolutely. Porcupine Tree and progressive rock needs to be better, more widely talked about. And for more, come to my masterclass. I'll be talking to you about Genesis and Peter Gabriel and all of that stuff. I mentioned them last time. I'll keep fucking doing it every time I get a fucking platform. Listen to fucking Genesis, motherfuckers.
She heard Gabriel speak the way I shocked the monkey.
God damn it!
Speaking of people who have their fingers on the pulse of everything,
Where's
my number
my
8.
nicotine?
I'm giving you the nicotine.
I can't not be medicated after that.
Speaking of people who have had their fingers on the pulse, I have at my number 8 spot, people can say that Brat Summer are the 2 words of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an argument to be made for that, but they're still wrong. Because, yes, Brat Summer brought loveliness and happiness and joy to so many this year. But there was only one set of 2 words that struck fear into the hearts of men, women, and non-binary folks alike. And those 2 words are...
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Backshot Summer. Bring it back, y'all. It's winter, but we can bring it back. Come on.
It never went away. It never went away. They are going to kill me for creating that meme.
Why? It's a good meme.
It's a great meme, but I think they're trying to get away from it, and I don't know why. But no, the 2
You
most...
can cut that, then.
No, the 2 most dangerous words of 2024 were Kendrick dropped. GNX by Kendrick Lamar. I have been waiting for this moment since Kendrick first dropped Control. Since in 2017 when he dropped The Heart Part 4.
This is your Opeth dropping this year.
Quite literally. This is my, not just, we're talking about the beef, first of all.
Oh, of course.
Because, man of the year.
You can't talk about Kendrick dropping without why Kendrick dropped this year alone. Like, you can talk about the lead up to Mr. Morale, you can talk about the lead up to Pimp a Butterfly. Nothing matches the lead up to GNX dropping, especially with the non-album tracks that
Exactly.
dropped. Like, you cannot possibly pass the hype of Not Like Us. You can't.
I am a white trans woman who is wearing glasses that she does not need. And I am going to sound like all the rest of them when I say that Kendrick is the greatest rapper of all time. There is no debate about this. Aubrey should never have stuck his foot into this in the first place. And I want people to... I'm talking about the beef right up front because I want to talk about the album separate from the beef.
Understandable. Yeah.
Because there are 2 sides of Kendrick's year for me. There is the beef, and then there is this record, and what separates it is Watch the Party Die.
Yes, absolutely.
Watch the Party Die is an introduction to where Kendrick wants to go from here, because the album, yes, it touches the beef slightly. It's not about the beef, though. It is about paying homage to, not only paying homage to West Coast hip-hop, but the fact that West Coast hip-hop gets a lot of flack for being just about the beats and just about, like, the party atmosphere. Kendrick is proving that while that stuff is in a lot of West Coast hip-hop, it does never and will never distract from the actual storytelling and the lifestyle and the, like, just pure imagery that Kendrick, that is trying to come forth in West Coast hip-hop. You got fucking Luther, Hey Now, TV Off with the greatest ad-lib in the history of mankind.
I was gonna say we should end this bit with just like, and we should all bow our heads and pray. Mustard! Dear Lord Kendrick in heaven, mustard!
Perfect. The album's fantastic. I am going to try to see Kendrick and SZA when they're on tour. Wyatt's doing something stupid.
Wyatt is fully sticking his head into a camera bag.
What else is new? I'm trying to get tickets to the SZA tour with Kendrick. I want it so bad. I am, once again, extremely excited for what Kendrick has to offer next. He seems... Damn and Mr. Morale were albums that he needed to make to get to the point where he can make something like GNX.
I think one thing that we were talking about with GNX too is that a lot of it feels like Goofy Kendrick is back.
It does.
A lot of it feels like Goofy Kendrick is back, which is something that I feel like I kind of missed with Damn and Mr. Morale. Like, those albums are incredibly important I think for the time that they were really, again, this is speaking as
I was a damn hater for a very long time, but I did come around on this year.
This is speaking as a white trans woman who obviously has a lot more privilege than I deserve to have, but like those albums were important for a lot of different fucking reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they were great, but like this just feels like Kendrick being goofy for the sake of music again. And it doesn't feel like there is because it's not an album about the beef, it doesn't feel like Kendrick is trying to say something big while also saying something. He's just doing it. He's not trying to make a statement or anything. That's just what he's doing with the music. And I really like that about that album. Again, TV Off has that greatest fucking... You cannot top Mustard.
You can't top...
Going from what the album says to what the album sounds like, you can't top Mustard, you can't top GNX.
Unreal. Who would have thought that Mustard would be like the greatest producer working today back in 2014?
I don't think anyone could have guessed that a dude with the name Mustard would have made it this big.
Because his beats were bad in 2014.
Yeah. And like now dude's big enough that at the pop out he had his own fucking set before Kendrick came out, which is wild. Kudos to you, Mustard. You've been fucking doing it.
Mustard like, on the beat.
How? Mustard on that fucking beat. Shall I go into my number 8?
Please do.
Okay, so my number 8 is one that V actually showed me recently. You told me to listen to it before we listened to this. And we were listening to it before we started recording. The New Sound by Jordy Greep. I was never the biggest Black Midi fan. I had known about their stuff. I had listened to a little bit of Schlagenheim. But I hadn't really like done a deep dive. And listening to this, like immediately the first track alone just was so all over the fucking place. It started off as like some kind of math rock track, and then moved on to some like Genesis sounding opulent, like layered vocal, like this beautiful fucking soundscape. Immediately into a bossa nova track, and then immediately into a fucking jazz like funk fusion track. I was hooked on this album from those first 3 tracks alone, and I still need to give it more listens, but it definitely, like, just off of the few listens that I've had, it has edged its way into my top 10. It's a really well put together album, and it's making me want to do a deeper dive into Black Midi. And again, just like with Connie, I'm excited. Just like with Connie, I'm excited to see where Jordy goes from here. Like I think this is his first solo album after Black Midi. So it's going to be really interesting to see like. This is called The New Sound. I guess we know what it fucking is. It's everything. Good lord. I want to... Ordinarily, I would already say, pun not intended, with edge just to fuck with you. But it ties too well into the album. This is a deeply horny record in a very not good way. This is kind of like the Promising Young Woman of albums. I don't think so. Really? Yes. So... The specifics... It's intentionally negative, is what I'm saying. We've only gotten a couple songs into it, listening to it together, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have not had a chance to actually sit down and listen to it. I have not, but I have listened to... I've seen some reviews of it, and I've got the idea of it, but please go on. I don't think that this is a horny record. I think it's an insecure record. I mean, especially listening to Holy Holy, it's very much about a man who is, like... begging for recognition, begging for any kind of acknowledgement of his status. And, like, I feel like that's a thing a lot of people can relate to, especially with the current, like, political climate and the current job climate of you have to work and work and work, and it's thankless, and you're just begging for, like, some kind of recognition for anybody. Even Jordy fucking Greep is, like, hiring a prostitute for some kind of recognition. And I think that, like, there's a lot of that throughout this album of, like, feeling like you can hold yourself in a higher status, but really inside knowing that you're not shit and you feel bad about it. And it's a really, really good fucking album. It just, the lyrics on it, I love an artist. I feel like, for me, when I try to write any kind of music, my biggest crutch is that I always have to make it rhyme. And to see an album like this that doesn't give a fuck about rhyming shit. It's telling you what he feels without any of the, like, sonic accoutrement that you're used to. These are assaults on your senses. These are, like, sonically, lyrically, it is meant to make you feel the way that he feels. And he does it so well. I'm really excited to listen to the rest of this. I think what you're so right about the recognition aspect of it, and that leads into
like, just thoughts about, like, because the idea of the album is, like, he's coming from, like, an incel manosphere-ish presentation, and I think you're right about it not being horny, because ultimately the manosphere doesn't... What the manosphere does is never to actually impress women. It is always to impress other men.
Of course.
And I think that comes across a ton on the record.
I mean, there's literally a line that's like, you've got the biggest stick that ever was, and you can come more than 1,000 stallions. Like, that is the manosphere to a fucking T. It is inflating the male ego, and this album feels like a result of the inflated celebrity male ego. Of someone just being like, I fucking had it, I need to put this all out there and be like, I am like, Doechii, honestly, my confidence is at an all-time low. That's what this fucking is.
I can see that for sure. My number 7, this was my number 1 at the mid-year. It has fallen for me, but not because it's not so great. It's because so much other stuff. There's so much other stuff. My sweet Minneapolis babies, Runaway Ricochet, with their album Diminishing Returns. I've already gone over this record in the mid-year. I saw them at SPI Fest in Connecticut last year, and they blew my mind. This album is full of just very happy, like, not happy. It's another, like, sad record, obviously, but it is a record that just the musicianship is so impressive, and so much of it is it's ska, so it's going to sound upbeat to an extent, but it is a record that, like, I haven't been impressed with the guitar. I think I said this in the last time. I have not been impressed with a guitar in ska in the way that I have in a very long time with this record. Like, Make It Out is amazing. Uncle Crow is a banger. Esker Grove, Faint Love Song is a very sweet song at the end of it, and I have some bias here. Optimist is one of my songs of the year because I was able to play it with that. I was able to jump on stage and do screams with them to it live.
Was fucking sick to see. That was really cool.
If anybody hasn't seen it yet, it's on my Instagram and on my TikTok as well. It's the first time that I've ever jumped on stage and performed with any band ever, and it was a very good start to the year, and I'm really excited to see what happens next, both for my own performances and especially for Runaway Ricochet. I am so excited to see where they go from here.
So for my number 7, so we talked a little bit in the halfway video about Childish Gambino dropping his last 2 albums last year. The first one that he dropped was a polished up version of 3:15:20, something that he released at the beginning of the pandemic, retitled Atta Vista, with all of the tracks having individual song names instead of just time codes on the album. And I really liked Atta Vista. Atta Vista was a really good album. The polish I think that was applied to it was a little bit unnecessary. I like 3:15:20. That's not my number 7. My number 7 is Bando Stone in the New World. And I think here's my problem with Bando Stone. The reason it is so low, again, I'm an Opeth dick rider, I'm a Childish Gambino dick rider. I've been a Childish Gambino dick rider for longer than I've been an Opeth dick rider. Something about the fact that it is a soundtrack diminishes the album for me. We were talking about this before we sat down to record. Part of it is, like, I wish Atta Vista would have been the final album that he put out, because I feel like, with the fact that it is a solid album from start to finish, each song flows into itself. It's a very vibe-based form of storytelling, which I think Donald Glover is one of the best at. He knows how to tell a story, going back to Awaken My Love, where even though all of the songs themselves didn't tell a story per se, the whole vibe of that album was the story. You're meant to feel something as you listen through these tracks that is it's not just a collection of songs together. They're all cohesive. And I think my issue with Bando Stone is that while all of those songs are 10 out of 10, like some of Gambino's finest work, I can't remember the name of it, but the one that he did with his kid, we were talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look that up.
I got it. Can You Feel Me? With
Can
Legend.
You Feel Me? Yeah. The song Can You Feel Me that he did with his son Legend, that's one of the, like, most heart-wrenching songs I've ever fucking heard, and it's just them
You were crying when you gave the album your first listen.
I definitely cried at it, because it's such a touching fucking song of, like, a father and a son learning how to deal with loss and how to handle loss, set over the two of them just saying the alphabet. And it's like, It's such a touching song. But it's for a fucking soundtrack for a movie that is yet to show up anywhere. Like, for the storyteller that Donald Glover is, having your last album under the Childish Gambino moniker, something that, like, people have expectations for, having it be a kind of jumbled soundtrack that gives us, like, most of the pieces, but is supposed to come with the final puzzle piece of the movie that never showed up, it just kind of takes away from it a little bit for me. I really wish that, like, it had... I understand that he also had a lot of medical issues with the tour, and that may have delayed the movie a little bit, but, like, if you're gonna release a soundtrack as your final album, don't just do the soundtrack. Put the movie that goes with the soundtrack out with it. It'll make it a little bit better, in my opinion.
I have a horrifying thing that I have to say about this album.
Oh, God.
And I'm going to precede it with how much I love, again, fucking, Cruising with Yeet is amazing. Can You Feel Me with his son, obviously, so good. But Yoshinoya, even Gambino was getting in on the beef.
Yoshinoya is one of the hardest fucking tracks I have heard Gambino do. It is one of the seediest, dirtiest, darkest tracks I've ever heard him do. That beat goes fucking hard. And we cannot talk about Bando Stone without talking about Lithonia. The song itself, the music video with Nat Wolff on drums for some reason. All of their
Alex
fucking...
Wolff.
Is it Alex Wolff?
It's Alex Wolff.
All right, we got to cut that out. We can't talk about Bando Stone without talking about Lithonia. That music.
I'm a
video,
Naked Brothers band super fan. You need to know this about me.
Oh no, I used to be a Naked Brothers band super fan. I am also just awful with fucking names.
Fair.
Yeah, I think that was one of the greatest songs to hit TikTok in summer of 2024. The Lithonia drop, the fucking keys, the way that I had Cody LeRae, a person who I've never fucking heard of. I don't know if Cody LeRae is real. I've seen some shit that Cody LeRae is not a real person. I don't fucking know. Cody LeRae, if you're real, I'm sorry, but goddamn, your name's been stuck in my head for the last 7 goddamn months. It just would have been made a lot better if it was more of a cohesive drop and not just this is my final album, it's a soundtrack, not much more to it. I don't know.
It's last thing before I get into what I have to say about what you said, which is that on Survive it has bar of the year for me. With my son watching Bluey like we both crips.
With my son watching Bluey like we both crips. I have to say, best bar of the year for me goes to Air This Bitch Out Like a Queef. Has
Absolutely.
to take
we'll
the
get
fucking
into that
crown.
one later.
Oh, of course we will.
And my last thing about Bando Stone is, unfortunately, it is kind of Childish Gambino's Francis of the Filth. If you remember the Filthy Frank book, because we were supposed to get that Netflix show with it, but we didn't, and so it just exists. I'm sorry to compare. No, actually, I stand on comparing Childish Gambino and Filthy Frank. I stand on that.
After having seen some of the Derek comedy sketches, yeah, no, that comparison's pretty.
I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. So we have the same number 6. It's Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii.
Yeah. Alligator Bites
The only
Never...
mixtape on either of our lists.
Yeah. It like... The way that I was introduced to Doechii is you played me the Tiny Desk concert, and holy shit, that sold me alone, and I listened to it like the next day. This is like 3 weeks ago that you showed this to me, so like, or it was like right before the end of the year.
Yeah.
So absolutely like a very late entry, but I'm not gonna lie, because of the shit that I was just talking about with Bando Stone, Alligator Bites edged Bando Stone out like within days of recording this. I redid my list just because it's been on repeat for so long. Boiled Peanuts slaps so fucking hard. Way harder than it has any fucking right to. No, it doesn't. Doechii, you have every right to slap that fucking hard. Stankapoo's fucking great. As we all know, Denial is a River is one of the, like, best fucking...
The storytelling.
I feel like I would describe it as conversational rap, where you have a lot of tracks that are like that more chilled back conversations and not like going hard over a beat.
Like
this
Just
is like
a Friend by Bismarck King.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like this is one of them that does it really fucking well. And Doechii just like Nissan Altima is another one that like just that fucking intro and that hook are stuck in my fucking head, and Doechii, you have my heart and soul.
I have been a Doechii fan since 2022 when she was on the XXL freshman list.
I remember hearing Crazy and loving it, and then seeing her pop up, especially this year, over the last couple of years, but especially this year, with, I think what we can agree is still her best verse of the year, which has not come up on our list yet. We're gonna get to it.
It will.
It will. She is everything. We are going to talk about her like we talk about Lauren. And she's already got more projects than Lauren does.
Yeah. Doechii 2025 is the year of Doechii. I'm
Doechii, please. Kendrick Duckworth Lamar.
Not government name.
And SZA. If you want your tour to be an all-timer, you will have Doechii open for you. It is Kendrick, SZA, Doechii. A TDE tour without it being a TDE tour, because Kendrick's not on PG Lang
no
now.
TDE, yeah.
No, there's still TDE.
Well, there's no more like Kendrick TDE.
There's no more Kendrick TDE. But no, I think that is, do what you did in like, I think it was like 2018. There was like a family like tour or something like that. It might have been 2017. You should do that again, but have it be with Doechii. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk Podcast. I am once again here with my lovely girlfriend Scarlett, and we are going through our top 10 albums of 2024. We are on to the top 5. We just got finished with our shared number 6 of Alligator Bites Don't Heal by Doechii.
Never heal.
Never heal.
Get it right.
I know.
You're the music nerd, babe. Get it right.
Are you accusing me of nerd? The pot is calling the kettle black.
You're the one with the show.
I am the one with I'm the one with the Wi-Fi. Anyway.
Fuck you.
My number 5 is Dark Times by Vince Staples. I have been a Vince Staples fan since I heard him on Hive off of Doris by Earl Sweatshirt. My favorite album of his up until this point has been FM, which is Kenny Beats production, styled as like a radio show type thing, but
Dawn
really,
FM type.
Yeah, really showing the like struggles of growing up in Long Beach in the hood and everything. And I think this is a gorgeous companion piece to that album. Obviously with a title like Dark Times, I don't need to tell you what the vibes of this song are, but songs like Etouffee and Black and Blue, Vince is Spectrum Pulse put this on his list as well, and he said that one thing about Vince Staples is that he is almost always the smartest guy in the room, and I could not agree more. Vince is thinking about, it's an album about how like these labels are profiting off of the struggles of Black people in underfunded neighborhoods. And even the critics and other influencers, like to an extent myself, are ultimately profiting off their trauma is our entertainment, and it's a beautiful record. I really cannot recommend it enough. It has reignited my love for Vince Staples. I think he's the West had a ridiculous year this year.
Kind of keeping it similar to the theme of serious albums. My number 5 is a really serious one, and we touched on it earlier. Our hearts go out to all the people in Gaza and Palestine as a whole, and fuck Israel. Give them their fucking land back. It's theirs to begin with. Shouldn't be on it. A band that I followed for a long time, a group out of Canada, Godspeed You Black Emperor. I've loved all of their stuff that they put out, and they put out an equally influential and touching album this year called No Title as of 13 February 2024, 28,340 dead. I don't want to bring admittedly, let's be real, this is silly. We're sitting here talking about sounds that hit our ears, and this album is about a very real tragedy and is about a very real thing. And for me personally, this album hit at a very rough time in my life when I did listen to it. Shit was not, has not, and is not going well, and listening to this album that just felt sonically like a glimmer of hope for such a distressing and disturbing topic. I had the pleasure, if you can call it that, of listening to this album just after a giant storm, riding the train home from someone's house, and hearing some of the highs of this record as the sun is peeking through the clouds genuinely gave me a little bit more hope that day that things will be better. And I think that that's something that Godspeed is so unique at doing, that they can touch on such serious topics and still give you hope while crushing your soul into bits. I genuinely put this album like just behind Lift Your Skinny Fists, which is crazy because that means it knocks out F sharp, A sharp, Infinity, which was my favorite album, just to show people by Godspeed. Lift Your Skinny Fist is one of those that you put on when you're in a down moment and you really need something to bring you through. This feels like another one of those where, in the face of all of this fucked up shit that's going on and all of these terrible atrocities being committed, people still persevere, and people will persevere. And I feel like this album really shows that in an exceptional way, completely wordlessly, aside from the few vocal samples that are used. It's a really hard-hitting album, and it definitely made me cry a lot. But I think it's an imperative listen. I think it's a very important listen for everybody, especially if you're in touch with everything that's going on, if you've been keeping up with it. And if you're a Godspeed fan, it's one of their sonically best albums to date. And I think it's an important listen.
This was my first interaction with Godspeed. I had heard of them several times. I actually skipped them at Riot Fest in 2023 because Gaslight Anthem was playing at the same time, and I never thought I was going to see them again.
A tough choice to make.
It was
truly.
It was a murder one, but I wanted to put that record on this list. I listened to it for the first time while playing Tears of the Kingdom, actually, which is, it's a fun, that's something I love to do with certain albums, is just like when I listen to the first song, just put on a game like Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild and just be able to like zone out from the gameplay and disappear into the music. Yeah, this was probably my last cut from the list. Just ultimately, I feel like it's almost, along with the no title, it's almost too important to put on a list like this, but I have the utmost respect for this record. It has gotten me to listen to more of Godspeed stuff, and that does not take away from you including it on the list in any way.
I was going to say the main reason I included it on the list is because I feel like it's such an important piece of music from this year, given that one of the like dominating things that has happened is the genocide in Gaza. I think that if anything, and again, this is not to take away from what you were saying, but if anything, it deserves to be highlighted all the more because it's such a poignant piece, and it's such a like, it's truly one of those like once in a generation albums, I feel like, because of the time that it was released, because of the climate that it was released under. It's one of those albums that I feel is going to go on my like decade list because of how it slots in perfectly with everything going on, and it shouldn't have to, but it does, and it deserves to be highlighted for being the piece of work that it is and bringing the attention to the crisis that it has brought.
Speaking of glimmers of hope in a very dark time, we have my number 4, the second EP on this list, Dread's Comforting Embrace by Splitjaw. I have known Maud and Dean in Splitjaw for about 2 years at this point. They are two people that I am immensely proud to call friends. I've seen Maud several times with Modify. This is the music that she has been supposed to be making her entire life. We were lucky enough to be at the very first Splitjaw show, and yeah, I had been
which is where that asshole in Vineyard Vines fucking shoulder checked me. Sorry to take it from genocide in Gaza to being shoulder checked by a preppy nerd in Vineyard Vines. I'm sorry, Charlie. You're great.
Fuck you, Charlie. We love you, Charlie. No, it was such their stage presence alone is everything, but there are only 4 tracks on this EP, and not a single one of them misses. I had been listening to the demos of these songs before they even had vocals on them, and I'd been sending you the same demos. Also, shout out to Akioma, who produced the record, who produced the EP, who has her record coming out in like 2 weeks as of this recording. I think she's coming on the show next, actually,
nice.
which I'm very stoked about that. Every song on this EP is such a fucking ripper. There are very few people I know who can do pure rage like Maud can. I didn't know that she was capable of some of the vocals on this thing until I got those demos originally. It is an honor to be at the beginning of what I truly believe will be one of the best careers in metalcore, and truly bringing metalcore back from pop music with breakdowns.
I was going to say, one of the only reasons that Dread's Comforting Embrace is on my honorable mentions and not on my like top 10 is because there's not enough of it.
There's not
not enough. Just being at the one show, they rip. They go so fucking hard on a level that I have not experienced before. Maud crushes it. Every single member of the like instrumental section of the band fucking kicks ass, both on record and live. Truly, like, I think that one of the things I like the most about Splitjaw is how cohesive as a group they are.
Mm-hmm.
They all gel so fucking well together, and like, even hearing the like, I didn't hear all of the demos. I only heard the first one. And just hearing that demo, like, how rough it was at the time, that thing sounded like a professional fucking demo put together, like, with, from what I understood at the time, was minimal mastering. Which
yeah.
I think is an incredible feat, and I can't wait to see what Splitjaw puts out, but god damn do I wish there was more on that EP. I wish there was a couple more tracks for us to get angry at.
There's already new Splitjaw coming out. There's Splitjaw being written right now. I've already heard the demos.
Let's fucking go.
All I can say is Slayer as fuck. That's
go.
all I'm gonna say for right now.
So to kind of take it from metal to metal, my number 4 is the only one that made it through, that survived the cut from the halfway list. You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To by Knocked Loose. This album fucking dominated my listening time this year. Every single track on that album, no skips. It truly is a zero skips album for me. I think that it is a level of heavy that I had previously not seen, especially before listening to Knocked Loose. Like, the thing that got me in was really the
Tear in the Fabric of Life EP?
No, not the Tear in the Fabric of Life. I found that. Why am I blanking on the fucking name of it right now? Hold on one second. Deep in the Willow, Everything Is Quiet Now. That drop, that little EP was really the thing that got me into Knocked Loose, other than, of course, Counting Worms, because arf, haha, funny. But yeah, You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To. I mean, the fact that there was a Poppy feature on it already sold me on it. That whole album goes so unbelievably fucking hard. I mean, this album goes from an insane fucking intro with one of the craziest fucking, like, I would even call it a breakdown intro. I don't know how the fuck they did that, but they did. Going, like, Moss covers all into Take Me Home. The breakdown in Take Me Home gets, like, I want to punch shit when I hear him yell Take Me Home and it gets fucking cut off like that. The progness of Sittin' More in a 5-minute, basically thrash metal track. Fucking, like, the calm that keeps you awake. The only disappointing track on this is Slaughterhouse 2, and I think we talked about it at the 6-month mark, that, like, it feels more like a Knocked Loose version of Slaughterhouse than it feels like a Motion in White version of Slaughterhouse. Motionless in White. And I think that's okay. I just wish it was more like a one-off song, and not the big meme song on the album. You know, that's really my only fucking gripe with it. Every other fucking song makes me want to punch a child in the face. I don't actually want to punch a child. But goddammit, that's the level of rage that shit inspires in me.
The only thing that I have to say about this record is I saw Knocked Loose in 2017 on Laugh Tracks at Warped Tour. Knocked Loose, motherfucker.
And again, I said it in the intro. Shout out Brian Garris for doing a fucking pig squeal on national television. That shit went so fucking hard. That entire performance in the rain, outside. Kudos to them for pulling it off. Just so fucking good. 10 out of fucking 10.
My number 3 album of the year is the other album other than Runaway Ricochet that made it from my 6-month list. It is Keep Your Cool by Riley. It's been so long since I found like a pop punk record that I just love and can listen to every single song on it over and over and over again. This is, I think, the album that really got me back into DIY, like not just in Chicago, but in this full spectrum of the scene.
Yeah.
I think that nothing has gotten me into DIY like this album did. I accidentally got them on the podcast last year for the WrestleMania episode with Summer Brews because one of the members of Riley was in that episode. I had admittedly not listened to them beforehand, but that album I was just hearing so much hype about, and I listened to it, and fucking every single song on the record, fucking every single song on the record, 777 with that opener of just winner, 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 that'll just get stuck in my head and it'll be stuck with me for the rest of the day. It's such a good vocal stem. Keep Your Cool, Man, Bad Boys Boxing Club, Cries in Spanish with Hecra, Eat Your Heart Out with Ben fucking Quad. Shout out to Ben Quad. What a year they had last year. Ego Peak Mid is one of my songs of the year. I love it so much. Oh my God, would you look at your face when you feel at home, you look so fucking out of place, is outside of the Kendrick Drake beef, the harshest lyric of the year. I love this. I'm so excited for Riley to see what they've got going forward. That's all I've got to say.
So we're in the top 3 now. We talked about it earlier. I, as you can tell by my list so far, I am clearly not a pop girly. I have never really been into like the brighter sounds of music. It's always had to be something dark. It's always had to be something heavy. That completely changed this year. I don't want to say completely because some of the tracks on it are kind of dark and heavy. But Brat by Charlie XCX, that was like really kind of my intro into what I consider the more EDM side of pop, the more electronic type shit, and that album, the rollout that I experienced being at that drag show the night that it dropped and having every single track played on the dance floor just be from Brat, listening to it front to fucking back for weeks after. This summer was truly Brat summer for me, and then on top of that, when she started releasing the remixes over the couple of months after it dropped, Guest featuring Billy is one of the horniest, hottest songs I have ever fucking heard, and it pumps me up. Like, there is nothing that gets me feeling hotter than listening to that fucking track and knowing that I am wearing a pair of lacy black fucking underwear. Like, that fucking song does it for me. That gets me into that headspace of, I'm sexy, I'm hot. That song fucking does it. And so many other songs on that album. Girl So Confusing. Mine, like, not even talking about the Lord version. As a trans woman, hearing someone talk about how confusing it is to be a woman and how confusing feminine politics are and how nothing really makes sense and it's all just kind of go with the vibe and do what you feel do what makes you feel good. Like, it's just so much of this album. Don't relate to a lot of the Coke references, gotta say. I don't do a lot of Coke. I know Charlie's a Coke girl. 360 and 365 bumping for fucking weeks. Apple, so fucking good. So I had also never really gotten into Sophie. Rest in peace, Sophie. But after listening to So I genuinely was like, oh, got it. Okay. Gotta listen to that shit now. Because it's just such a heartfelt, touching tribute. And that whole album dominated my summer. That was a big one for me, and Brat really kind of opened my eyes into hyperpop and to pop in general, and I think I'm a fan. I would have to kind of branch out from Charlie and from Sophie, and honestly a little bit of Troye Sivan after that last album, but like, I'm here for it. I fuck with it. Maybe it's just gay pop that I'm here for, but like I'm here for it.
A new genre. It's called gay pop.
A new genre called gay pop. Yes, I exclusively listen to JoJo Siwa. Anyway, that's my number 3. If anyone takes that last JoJo Siwa joke as seriousness, I will find where you live. Please know that I do not listen to JoJo Siwa. Thank you. That's my PSA.
My main comment about Brat is Tara at Bundle of Sticks on Instagram and Twitter and all the other ones. She's a friend of a friend. She had a tweet a while ago that said that Brat Summer was the end of the Roaring 20s for trans people.
Yeah.
And that now we are at the beginning of the 30s.
Yeah.
And I don't think I need to say anything more than that. So let's just move on to, we have another one that we share.
Number 2.
Share number 2.
No.
This is all staying in. I'll start.
This is the Darling I'm Trans of my episode. A shared number 2.
I will start. Tyler, the Creator, is one of my favorite artists of all time. I have been on since Goblin. I remember showing people Troncat to show that I was like cool and edgy and shit.
A good song.
Chromacopia is the best thing he's ever done. I have never heard Tyler, despite how anxious he clearly is about himself on this record, I have never heard him be more himself. Saint Chroma, Noid, Sticky, fucking Balloon, Darling I, Balloon, the great lyric of the year for Scarlett.
I air this bitch out like a queef. Goddamn, Dochi, you do it a fucking again.
Swamp bitches for life. We love, that's the, again, I have been listening to Tyler for so long, and when he has talked a lot about his father.
Yeah.
And how much he hates him on every single record, how he feels abandoned by him. And to hear on Like Him how it was not the fact that his father abandoned him, but it was in fact his mother who had made his father walk away and not contact Tyler, in connection with all of the other songs on there, like Hey Jane, with the children, with talking about not being ready to be a father, or talking about not being able to settle down on Darling I. It all ultimately comes down to that and the masks that we wear as a result of our upbringing and everything else to try to make us fit into whatever mode that we are trying to fit into. Tyler has always felt like he doesn't fit into anybody else's hole or anything like that, and he's just going to keep going, and it's going to be great. Yeah, please continue to please keep going, but first end my very kind moment with Tyler not being able to fit into somebody else's hole. I saw your smirk, you little fuck.
I was just happy to watch you rant about Tyler. Sue me for being a Yap fan. I think that I really got into Tyler around Flower Boy era, and I think that after having done like a deep dive around the Igor era, this really feels like the culmination of everything that Tyler has put out up until this point, sonically and lyrically. I think that he's at his best with some of his lines on this. I think that it truly is just a beautiful album from front to finish. And I have not had an album that has made me just give that "what the fuck, this is so good" stank face in so long. When those first couple notes of Sticky hit, that whistle, oh god, and the Black Sabbath sample on Noid is so good. This album is going to be on loop. I was listening to it on the way over here. Like, I planned on doing a whole deep dive into my list for today. No, it was just Chromacopia. It's always going to be Chromacopia. The Wayne feature on Sticky, so fucking good. The run of
Darling I, Hey Jane,
the run,
Judge Judy.
The run of, not even that. It's Hey Jane, I Killed You, Judge Judy. I Killed You with, again, like I said earlier, one of the hardest fucking beats I've heard. Immediately going into Donald Glover just fucking vocalizing in the background. I love everything about this album, sonically, thematically, lyrically. It is such a well-produced album, and I love that he uploaded that little 10-minute video of the behind-the-scenes making of, because I always love getting to, like, go inside an artist's head.
We're both
while
very
they're
much
making
DVD
something.
bonus features.
Absolutely. It was some of my favorite things that I have on my computer are documentaries of the old Opeth albums, like making Blackwater Park and making the Deliverance and Damnation records. Like, getting to see music come together like that is such a special and unique process that I feel like when you're faced with the end product, a lot of time you're like, oh, this is cool. They just sat down in the studio and put it on a fucking file. Getting to see the, like, months of work that he put into this to only surprise drop it out of fucking nowhere. Beautiful.
On a Monday.
Beautiful. On top of that, the whole rollout of this album, top fucking notch. On top, like, with the cryptic teasers. Like, he did this with Igor. I remember seeing those lyricless videos with Igor where it was just the beats behind a bunch of fucking him. That's beautiful. He went over the fucking top with this. The mask, the shipping container shows, all of the videos, the snippets, starting with Noid being the track to drop. That sold me on this album instantly, and I haven't even heard Sticky yet. My top track from this fucking album. Sticky will be on my fucking, like, in my head forever. I'm high and rambling at this point. I want to end it by saying, Tyler, I have seen all of the videos of all of the band kids getting together at, like, and doing organized versions of Sticky on brass instruments at, like, football games, like high school band classes. And Tyler getting so fucking happy because that's why he arranged the song. So that people, I think he said, like, so young black kids in band can fucking have a song to play. And I love that shit. It translates so fucking well into that specific environment. And he fucking crushed it. That is an anthem to me on the level of Not Like Us. Truly, Sticky is the Not Like Us off this album for me.
I think that's perfectly fair. I'm going to go into a few honorable mentions before we get into our number ones. We've got Posthuman Next Gen by Bringing the Horizon. Even if I have all of my qualms with it, the new songs on there are still really fucking great. Also, we have Joanna Wang's Hotel La Route. This is a album that was based off of a very specific episode of the TV show Kids in the Hall. It just a bunch of different stories about different, like, people who live in there. So many different genres of jazz and emo and a whole bunch of other mess. It's so wonderful. Cool World by Chat Pile. Another album that just really digs in there and makes sure that you understand everything that's happening because everything sucks. The Muna live album, Live at the Greek. I talked about this with Billy. It's such a good live album, the likes of which we haven't seen in a while. Bando Stone, obviously. And I'm going to leave it off with, this is not an album that I really enjoyed that much, but it is one that gave me a little bit of hope. I was an Eminem kid. I have saved myself from that to the point where I really only listen to Marshall Mathers LP2 and Relapse at this point, because I think they're his most interesting works at this point that I've aged the least poorly. Eminem, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. I did not love the record. I am interested to see if this time he will actually kill Slim Shady and what is to come next. I am interested to see what will happen going forward.
Dread's Comforting Embrace by Splitjaw. Again, we were talking about it earlier. Just need more of it. This great band that someone we're both very close with. You're fucking dating her, Lily.
Your husband's dating her.
My boyfriend. My husband's dating her. Nel Nome del Codice by Keygen Church. I butchered the Italian there. Know nothing about this band. It is doom music meets ghost meets... it is just a wild MIDI black metal album. It fucking slaps. It goes so hard. Buchigiri Tokyo by a band out of Japan called Hanabi. They had an album in 2023 called Reborn Superstar that would have been top of my list had I known you then, and we would have done this in 2023. Absolutely would have been top of my list. That album, this EP specifically, Buchigiri Tokyo, goes everywhere from like hyper pop to J pop to just straight up metal. It's a sick fucking album. Something that we didn't talk about in our halfway video.
Well, it hadn't happened yet.
Because it hadn't happened yet, but I had the tickets. We didn't know you were going. You, myself, and my partner Jade, we all went to go see King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard when they came through in September. And then our girlfriend Kelsey managed to get free tickets same day. Anyway, that's another rant for another episode. But on my honorable mentions is Flight B741 by King Giz. I love King Giz. They're great. I'm not a blues rock girly. They knocked it out of the fucking park. Every track on that is great. La Risque is a great fucking track. That one gets stuck in my head all the fucking time. Antarctica is a good one. Raw feels really good. Sad Pilot is fucking great. It just didn't click for me. Like, I mean, you know, my lists generally stick more to metal, so it's not heavy. It's not really gonna break that top 10, but it's definitely there. And another one that I loved from this year, it's kind of cheating because it's a series of recordings from 2023, but the opener for King Giz at that show was a band called Geese that I immediately fell in love with, and they put out a live album in 2024 called Alive and in Person that is really fucking good. And just Geese in general, shout out Geese. They fuck hard. They go real hard. A lot of their shit's real good. But yeah, my last honorable mention is Alive and in Person by Geese.
So we are at our final albums of the year, our number one album of 2024 for both of us. I will be going first. This is an album by an artist that has, I think, unfairly been labeled as controversial as of late. I understand where it comes from, but I disagree, and I think that's kind of why this record resonates with me so much. My number one album is I Lay Down My Life For You by JPEG Mafia. I've been a Peggy fan. I've never been able to hear an album of his right when it came out and had it connect with me like that. This album is somebody who is deeply fucking depressed. They are pushing everybody away, and you can only hope that at the end of it they will have realized that it is somebody going scorched earth. They are without songs like fucking I Scream This in the Mirror Before I Interact With Anyone, New Black History with Vince Staples, JPEG Ultra with Denzel Curry, Ex-Military especially, Vulgar Display of Power, love the Pantera reference on there. Fuck you, Phil. That's literally why it's on there probably, is because Peggy does not fuck with Nazis, does not fuck with transphobes, any of those motherfuckers, and people still like to say that he's not left enough and that he isn't doing enough. He is a deeply hurt veteran who is making the music that he wants to make, and this is him throwing away everybody in his life to hope that he can build up again. Peggy, I hope you're getting the help that you need, and I hope that even though I don't agree with you working for it, I do hope that you get your money from Kanye. I'm sorry, dude.
So for my number one, I had talked at the halfway point about how Poppy had just dropped New Way Out as her single and how that would most likely become my album of the year, and it sure as shit did. Negative Spaces. I apologize for moving from a very serious topic immediately to Small Blonde Girl Go Scream. But listen, this album is so much more.
We
than
met
that.
Accidentally at a Poppy show.
We didn't meet at the Poppy show, but
we were both
at the
there,
Poppy show.
both pre-transition. I think we've told this story.
Probably. We were both at the 2021, I think, Poppy show when she came through touring I Disagree.
At Park West.
And I think the thing about Poppy is that I found her, like, everyone knew about Poppy pre I Disagree because of all the YouTube shit. But I, like, discovered the music side of Poppy with I Disagree, and that was right as I was getting into metal. And so Poppy became a mainstay for me. And when her next couple of releases, Zig and what was the one between Zig? I think it's Flux and Zig.
Flux, yeah.
Those were not like heavy enough for me to put into my rotation really at all, and it's kind of disappointing because
What about
like
the EDP?
I'm sure that those two albums specifically were very good albums, but they just never got into my rotation. Now the thing about the EDP is that came out immediately after I Disagree More. Like that was basically the same album cycle. And so that really was kind of sonically and thematically
It was
similar.
like a Fame Monster type thing.
Yeah.
That just happened to be sponsored by NXT.
It was a companion piece that was put out. And I think it's a very good companion piece. I think that hearing New Way Out really solidified my hope that we'd get more metal from Poppy, and sure as shit we did. Negative Spaces is packed with fucking metal. I think the thing I like about it the most is that I talked in the halfway breakdown about how like my biggest problem with Next Gen is that it felt bloated. A lot of those like intermediary tracks, a lot of those things that happen in between some of the bigger hits, like don't really gel well as good for me as a lot of the stuff on Negative Spaces does. There are a lot of in between tracks that are just kind of musical little interludes, but they work really well with the tone of the album. And I think that just some of the cuts on here, Have You Had Enough is a blast of a fucking opener. I will scream have you fucking had enough over and over again. The Cost of Giving Up is a beautiful track as well. My favorite by far is The Center's Falling Out. You can't go wrong with the coward scream from the opening of They're All Around Us. But The Center's Falling Out has this really, really, really fucking good little breakcore intro that just goes into this ripper of a fucking track. And the first time I heard that track, it truly was like, oh, we're so back. I've heard a lot of people talking about how the Poppy and Bad Omens collab wasn't really, like, everyone said that Suffocate off of You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to is the thing that made Poppy metal again, and not the Bad Omens thing. Yeah, I know the name of it. It's not a good song at this point. Poppy's feature does not save the song from it just I don't like that song.
Stop making metalcore pop songs with breakdowns.
I think that this album really did solidify metal Poppy is back. Just that first single, New Way Out, also fucking rips. Like, you know it's going to be a good Poppy song when she starts it off with the Poppy. Like that, you know you are in for the heaviest shit you have ever heard when you get that little bubblegum intro like that. This is my top played album of this year. I love everything about it. It's such a beautiful album, and I really think it does show Poppy's progress as a metal musician. I'm proud of her for doing all this shit, especially for getting away from Titanic. Fuck you, Titanic Sinclair. You know what you fucking did, you piece of shit. Kudos to you, Poppy. You made a banger of a fucking album. I cannot wait to hear more.
And that is going to do it for our top 10 albums of 2024. Scarlett, where can people find you?
Nowhere, really. I'm on Blue Sky now because fuck Elon, fuck Nazis, fuck Mark Zuckerberg, fuck Nazis, fuck Meta, fuck everything like that. I'm really on Blue Sky, Switcher, I think, switcher.bsky.social. But I just shitpost there, really.
You can find me and all of my links in the description down below. You can, if you like this episode, please give it a like. Please comment what your favorite album of 2024 was. Please subscribe on all video and audio platforms. If you really like the show, you can support on Patreon at the $3 or $5 tier for a bunch of cool stuff. The logo for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is done by Lauren Young. You can find her stuff down in the description. The theme song for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is Lose a Turn by Modify. You can find links to all of her stuff in the description down below.